Many years ago, I remember seeing a magic dealer perform Frank Garcia's wonderful trick Wild Card. Now, Wild Card is a series of changes. Cards change. And it uses a very clever primary handling involving double-faced cards. And that's exactly what inspired this trick Evidence. I've always been thinking, or at least for many years, there's got to be some way to take Wild Card and apply it to ordinary items, such as photographs, and involve a theme that people can care about, that's interesting, that's in the popular, sort of in the pop psychology. I mean, it's fine to change 10s to 2s and jacks to queens and all that stuff. But when you can involve, items that people care about and that people are familiar with and that don't seem like trick cards and all that, you're going to take the magic to another level. And that's what this is all about. It's amazing what people will believe, and that's a big part of what a magician does, is tests and exploits and explores what people believe. And while a lot of people will not believe that you can show your hand empty and produce a coin from thin air by magic, it seems a bit childlike to people. The notion of maybe being able to move an item, maybe bend an item with the power of the mind, that for a lot of people is slightly more believable. And that's what this trick is about, digs in there. So this is Evidence. I'm going to share with you a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to be looking at a bunch of different handlings for this. Not just one handling, but several handlings. I'm going to show you some ways to create the impression of a spoon bending in a photograph, which is the primary idea here. I'm going to teach you some handlings that are dead simple. Super simple. Okay, very, very basic stuff. And then a couple of handlings that require a bit of a lighter touch, a bit more practice. I'm also going to teach you, totally inspired by Paul Harris's wonderful Bizarre Twist. I'm going to teach you a version of Bizarre Twist using just 3 of the photographs that I use all the time. I love it. It's one of my favorite things I do with the Evidence cards. Then near the end, I'm going to teach you a whole bunch of tricks with spoons. I'm going to show you some rubber band and spoon stuff I've been playing around with for years and perform for people in bars and always plays very nicely. I'm going to show you how to make a spoon appear from nowhere. Very cool production of that. I'm going to show you my favorite way to bend a spoon where you're not even touching the spoon. Okay, the spectator has complete control and still you're able to bend a real spoon. So all that is coming here. I think you're going to like it. I think as always you're going to find there's real value in the tutorial and you're going to have a lot of fun performing Evidence for real people in the real world. Before we dive into looking at the various handlings and the cool things you can do with these cards, or really photographs, I call them cards because I'm a magician, but really they're photographs. The cool things you can do with them. Before we do that, I want to touch on 2 things. First, take good care of the photographs. You will find that I've included a double set of everything you need, because I know you're going to want to perform this trick for a long time, and working in bars and clubs and things, sometimes the photograph is going to get damaged. It might get soiled or whatever, so I want to include backup sets for you guys. Okay, number 1. Number 2, really take good care of these cards. What I find, because you're going to find some of the handlings, I've included some handlings here in this project that are bulletproof. You could perform them with cards soaked in beer or whatever. They don't require. But others require the cards to be clean and to slide neatly across each other and that kind of thing. So take good care of the cards. Keep your hands clean. I mean, you normally would that anywhere. But for these, you're going to find to really make sure that you can handle these photographs and do the basic sleight of hand required to perform the trick, you're going to want to keep the cards as clean as possible so you keep your hands clean and all that kind of thing. This is stuff you'd probably do with just, playing cards anyways, but just a reminder there. I also want to spend just a moment here talking about the presentation. So I'm going to tell you right now, the 2 presentations I've used the most with this. One is I tell people I'm an amateur photographer. I'm an amateur photographer. Oh yeah, I've got some photos I'll show you. And then one by one, I show either 1, 2, 3, whatever. I show the photos of the unbent spoon, right? And as I show them, I say, I call this one a Modern Art 4. I call this one Depressed Pizza. And as I'm showing them, I'm apparently putting them down on the table or into spectators' hands, right? Showing them. I call this one Wayward Pony. And I always improv. I always come up with silly names right off the cuff. Sometimes I just met somebody, right? And the guy's name is Joe. And I call this one Joe's Inevitable Divorce. Okay? And, I'll do something to do with the space, the bar, the menu, the situation, the client, whatever. So that's one presentation I do. And I get a couple of gags like that. And then I also say, I know what you're thinking, I'm crazy. I mean, it's just a bunch of photographs of some straight spoons, right? I mean, the reason I say straight is because you probably heard that people can bend spoons with their mind. Well, I'm going to try to do that right now. So that's my first presentation, all right? Now, the one I've also used a ton of time, and the one featured on the preview for evidence, is a comedy presentation, where I say right out of the gates, you have probably heard of the idea of some people being able to bend spoons with the power of their mind. And you probably don't believe them, and I don't blame you, because frankly, it's absolutely impossible for anybody to be able to do that, except for me. In fact, I set up my camera on a little tripod the other day, and what I did is I had a spoon on the table, and I had the camera every 5 or 10 or 15 seconds, 2 seconds, whatever you want to say. I had the camera take some pictures of the spoon lying on the table. And you can see in this first photo, well, the spoon, nothing's happened, right? And in the second photo, you can see that nothing's still happening. But third, look, you can see it's starting to bend. And of course, you're showing them a straight spoon. And then on this one, you can see it started, and on this one, it's actually bent. Amazing, huh? You saw it happen live. So it's a comedy presentation. You keep referring to this spoon slightly bending and this spoon being a bit more bent when they can see clearly nothing like that's happening. They're straight spoons. They assume the whole thing is a joke. And when people assume it's a joke, they're not going to be suspicious. They're not going to be looking in the same kind of way to, I'm going to solve the trick, which is always nice. Second, their expectations come down. And when you do a presentation that lowers people's expectations, okay, it's very strong theater, because if in a moment you're about to take those lower expectations and blow them up, and actually accomplish what you've been talking about all along, impossibly. The contrast between low expectations and the impossible magic is at a maximum. And that's when you get crazy reactions, okay? I find years ago, in mixing comedy with magic, that, when you lower people's expectations and suddenly you pull it off, the thing that they were certain was absolute, there's just no way, it's an absolute joke. The contrast is, that's where you get screams and shouts. And people say, no way, and people start to swear and really engage. I also like the fact that rather than just being a magician, hey, I'm going to fool you, look at me, I'm amazing, I know stuff you don't know, that trying to be entertaining, trying to be a little playful, coming across as not taking yourself too seriously. This is all stuff that will powerfully make you a more entertaining and more commercial performer, okay? So keep that in mind. A couple different presentations around this effect. And now let's jump into it. I'm going to share now with you probably one of the handlings I use the most, which doesn't even use all 5 photos. You've probably heard of people trying to bend spoons with the power of their mind. Now, most people can't do, but I actually can. And I even have photographic evidence, because I put a spoon on my table the other day, had my camera take a few quick flash photos while I was doing this, and I've got evidence right here. Now, I know it's one thing to claim that, but look, here's something I'm going to be doing with 3 photographs, okay? And there are 3 photographs with spoons. Now, the spoon initially started off on the table, perfectly straight, as you can see that, right? What's neat is the next moment, you can see the next photo, it's just starting to bend. There's the tiniest little bend. I don't know if you can see that quite there. It is there, though. And then finally, in the 3rd photograph, amazingly, look at that. It actually bent. So there you have it, proof that I can bend spoons with the power. You don't seem impressed. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to bend the spoon right here in front of you. Look, you can take this, slip it under this one, just a little wiggle, just like that. And now, instead of just 1, I have 2 impossibly bent spoons. Now, it's one thing for me to be able to do it in my hands, but hold it your hand for me, okay? Because with this one, you can still see it's perfectly straight. With this one, you hold on to that. They hold that between their hands or put their hand on top of this. And I'm going to see if I can bend it just the way I did. I want you to concentrate on the spoon in your hand. Concentrate. Think about it, okay? And let's see. Bending, bending. In your own hand, I want you to see now it's bent. Okay. So, let me adjust the camera here. Like this. Bring it on up and let's talk about that a little bit. So, that is the essence of the trick, but without 5 cards, I actually find I perform it more 3 cards. Fewer things to get damp on tables, fewer things to hand out, all that stuff. Now, we don't want to get caught thinking like magicians. It's so important with this, because if you change this, you've done many of the times, I'm sure, as an amateur professional magician, you've had a card change. It goes from the 2 to the selected card, whatever. It's on the table, it's between someone's hands, under a glass, or wherever it is. A card change is incredible. One change by itself is amazing. No question about it. When you can do it and then repeat it, it's even more amazing. After that, I think there's still real power. I still think it'd be commercial. But you start to wonder if it's maybe overproving. So I love the original wild card, which used a whole bunch. It was 9 cards, Frank Garcia's. Then when I was developing evidence, I thought, well, maybe I'll use 5. But it actually turns out most of the time I just use these 3. And I want to talk to you about it for a moment right now. So here we are. The 3 cards we're using, or the 3 photographs we're using 1 bent spoon, okay, and another bent spoon, okay, we've got those 2 there, and then we've got one of our double-faced or double-sided spoons, right, and we've got the straight one on top, so it's straight and these 2 on the bottom, okay. Now, there's a bunch of things I like about this handling. First, you talk about the presentation at the beginning. You don't do it right away. You can even have these rubber banded in your pocket. Start, boom, like this. Hey, how you doing? Probably heard of people being able to bend spoons. They can't, but I actually can. No, I'm not just kidding. And I brought evidence. And it's so dramatic when you show your hands, reach into your pocket, and take out this. I brought evidence. Creates curiosity. What could he be holding in his hand that would convince us he could actually, and then you drop into this idea of taking photographs, which of course is a crazy idea, but a great setup for the live bending, the actual bending in front of them. So, we're here. Now, you do not have to show the backs of the cards, but one of the things I love about the original Frank Garcia's handling, and you're going to find with a lot of the handlings I share with you today here on this video, is they do get the strong experience that they saw the fronts and backs of all the photos. That adds so much to the magic, first, and second, the notion that anybody wants to examine a photo, they know photographs. They know they're not gimmicked or tricky photos, okay? It doesn't make any sense. This is not like something you got in a magic shop. That's what makes it so strong. But if you can also show the fronts and backs of everything time and again, then it really reduces the idea that anybody wants to examine the photos. Though at the end of the tutorial, I'll show you a couple of easy ways that you, if you want, to have them examined at the end. All right, so the handling here. We've got our setup, we've got these. So for starters, while I'm talking casually, they see me count off the 3. Now, this is a very simple count. There's a couple of ways you can do it. I call it the switch finger count. It's as old as the hills. All I'm doing is holding the photos. Okay, there's a couple different ways you can do this. First, you can hold between the tip of the middle finger and the thumb, right? Count 1 off, come over here, and you're going to put this just slightly past, okay? So it's just the corner of the double in your hand, just past where the thumb is going to now kind of clip those 2 and then take this again. It's a very casual move. Now, you can either just between the middle finger and the thumb, or you can switch fingers, which makes it even easier. If I start by holding between first finger and thumb, okay, what I can do is I'm here, drag this one off. As I come over, I grab this with the middle finger. Grab it with the middle finger, take the pair. So it's 1, 2, 3. What you don't want to do, and why, yeah, sure, if you're very experienced and you've got a great grip on cards, a very light grip, you can do a 2 for 3 traditional count. But what you don't want with any of these is a slight flash of the back end there, okay? It's a real contrast between the white and the blue, which is why I've come up with handlings to make sure that it doesn't even come close. Get a firm grip of the packet, you're sliding off, coming over, pinching that and that. So in performance speed, it's just 1, 2, 3, okay? So they saw the backs of these while you were casually. Then I spread these out casually, and they see the faces, okay? Now, I don't go all the way and reveal the bends at this point, but kind of interesting to note that you can very casually sort of show these, and no one's going to immediately realize that 2 of them are bent. That's why I'm just doing this, 3 photographs. I did 3 photographs, you show them front and back. Now, I'm spreading out the 3. As I'm about to square them up, all I do is get a pinky break below the top 2 photos, getting ready for a necktie second deal. Now this, if you've never done this, don't worry. It's super easy, okay? So basically it's like a double lift, okay? Got my break there. All I'm going to do is put my first finger below, right in the break. Just jam it in the break. My thumb is going to hold the top card, the top photograph there, and all I'm going to do is pull this out from below. That's it. But look, you see, they see clearly, now let me back up the table here a little bit. They see clearly the straight spoon, and they see you take it and move it out and down. It looks perfect. And there's no chance of flashing the back here because it's so clean, okay? Here, straight spoon, into the break, turn everything over and put it down the spectator's hand or on the glass or in your shirt pocket here. If you're performing for Zoom, prop it up on a glass or a purse or whatever's there, okay? So that's the first photo. They've seen the backs of all of them. They saw a glimpse of the faces. They see one straight going down like this, okay? Then you tip here. You show the second spoon starting to bend a little bit, kind of, sort of. They don't believe you at all. This can go, you could have it on two spectators' hands or on the table again or whatever. And then finally this. And I don't just show the bend. I casually show the back again. So they're seeing the fronts and backs of everything. It flows so beautifully, okay? Now, you're here. You're going to go underneath here, okay? Scoop this one up. Turn it over a couple of times. Give it a little dramatic bend like this, showing both sides if you want, okay? And it is now, they're both boom and possibly bent. I mean, that's crazy. That's beautiful magic. This is just not overkill, but to do it again is almost to prove, just in case you thought it was a fluke the first time, I am a real miracle worker, okay? So they're seeing fronts and backs of everything. Sometimes I've done this too. I don't want to forget to add this in here. Sometimes what I've done is I've just rubbed this against that, okay? Put this down like this, and I do this. I say, watch. And they see... Okay? See what I'm getting at there? It's a really pretty, where it looks like I'm just hiding the rest of the straight spoon, okay? But in fact, all I do is slowly, right in full view, bend it. So I'm giving it a moment as if it happened just then, when of course it happened at the printing place weeks or months or years ago, right? So that's another way to do that. Okay, now, I've got these two. And don't get caught thinking like a magician. They're not assuming, oh, what about the last one? Is he going to do the last one? You showed 3 photos and you impossibly bent one under test conditions. Great trick. But I spread these two and I say, I know what you're thinking, that when I show them, put them back, get another little break under the top, photograph. You're thinking, well, I bent those 2 in my hand. What about yours? And notice the motivation here. Rather than saying, I bent those 2, and what about this one? And then why am I bringing it back here? Okay? Why am I? So I say, I know what you're thinking. I bent those 2 in my hand. But what about your hand? And so in putting it down and showing my hand and saying, implying hold out your hand, it motivates me putting it down for a second. They hold their hand. I now turn over a double lift. It's the easiest double lift, okay? They're big, thick photos. Nice firm grip here. You've already got your get ready, okay? I just turn them both over. That's all I do, okay? Immediately take this off. There's nothing. You put that on their hand. Okay, you're here, you can show these both, put them in your shirt pocket, put them in your jacket pocket, or as I like to sometimes do, I say, okay, now it's up to you, okay? I bent these 2 with my mind. I want you to use your mind too, and look what I did. I'm flashing another back. I want you to use your mind too, right? Like this, boom, keep it in mind. Then at that point, of course, then I put these 2 in my pocket or away like this, and then they're holding it here. Imagine. I like to use this image too. I sometimes will say, I want you to imagine this is the spoon. Imagine it bending. Imagine it bending. Visually, it makes it visual so they can see what's happening here. Then they boom like that. Okay, and you got that. 1 by 1. That's the 3-card version. I love it. It's to the point. It is a lean, mean magic machine. Oh, I almost forgot. I wanted to show you a way that you can not only show the backs all white of the photographs, but you can even show the faces of the 3 photos before you then go into the 3-card full routine. And that is this. If we've got the same setup, okay, straight on top and 2 bent beneath, right? If you do the reverse, if this is your setup, this is basically a variation. It's using Brother John Hammond's flustration count. And what you do, since you want them to believe there are 2 straight, 1 bent, right? So you show straight, come over, thumb off the top one, show straight, come over, and you're going to do that switch we talked about where you put it down like this, pinch the 2, and take off the 1. But instead of doing a counting action, what you get is a very nice straight spoon, bent spoon, okay? 2, 2, 1. Looks exactly like it's supposed to, and it's a nice way to get into that. So I want to make sure I share that with you as well, because like I said, the three photograph version is definitely mine. Now I know you might think for a second that these are playing cards, but they're not. This is actually something amazing with 3 photographs, and what they are is they're photographs of 1, 2, 3 spoons. Now watch. You've probably heard of people who have the ability to bend a spoon with their mind, but I actually went next level, because I can bend a spoon in a photograph. Watch. Right here. I'm going to slip this one, okay? In the middle of the other two, like this. Sleeves up. Watch the one in the middle. Just a small twist. And look. Just like that. You'll see impossibly right in front of you. I just bent it. Something I think you'll agree, absolutely incredible, using just 3 spoons. Okay. So that moment, you just got to try this, okay? Practice it a bit. Try it on the wife, the boyfriend, the kids, whatever. This moment, when you pull this out, it's just so magical. I mean, this is the before, this is the after. It's all just there. You can drop everything on the table. It's one of these tricks, my favorite tricks, and I think you're going to find a lot of your favorite tricks have a certain quality, a similar quality about them, and that is they help you feel like a real magician, or rather they help you get in touch with your inner magician. So for this one, we're going to be, because we're not dealing, there's no chance of flashing a back because none of these are the double back cards. There's no chance of flashing a corner or anything. You can do more traditional Elmsley counts and counts like that, okay? So here's the setup anyway. This is one approach for it. Lots of different ways to do this, but I've got the bent spoon and 2 straight spoons. That's all I'm using, okay? These 3. I talk about, again, ability to bend spoons. People can do it, but most magicians actually have to hold it. I don't even have to hold the spoon. I can bend a spoon in a photo, okay? Or you can say I can go back in time to bend a spoon in a photo that was taken, 2 weeks ago. Anything like that. It's kind of surreal and fun. And so I take these out, and I say that these might look like playing cards, but they're actually not. They're photographs. And I fairly count 1 off, 2, and 3. That's all I'm doing. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and what this does, since it starts here, it reverses the order of the photos. When I count them off like this, it brings the bent one to the top. Now I turn these over, and I count them off, and it looks exactly like I'm counting off the 3 pictures, right? When in fact I'm doing a 2 for, at one point I'm doing a sort of I'm counting 3 for 3, but I'm doing a switch. So here's the switch I'm doing, is I am taking the first one off in my finger and thumb, right? Then I'm coming over and I'm going to push this one kind of under, and I'm going to, for just a second, this one goes on the bottom, and my thumb and fingers push off everything above the bottom. So it's going to be that double, okay? You'll find with a little, if you just hold the packet right here, 3 photographs, and you push with your thumb, and you pull back a little bit with your fingers, the top 2 cards will automatically move forward. Top 2 photos will just move forward so you can take them, okay? It's not a hard move. And I just combine this with 1 here, come over, push, take the 2 and the 1. You can even snap them down a little bit if you want, like this, like that, and that. Okay, and it really looks to all the world like you've shown it the backs and the fronts, and everything's so straightforward. So magical, a great way to totally hide the image of a bent spoon. Now, this is now on the bottom. Notice that all the stems are facing up. That is important. And now we go into the original Paul Harris handling, which is to take this one here, and we're going to turn it stem in, okay? We're going to slip, and this really does look like you're slipping it between the 2 photos, but I'm not. It's actually on the bottom, okay? Let me show the exposed view. So my fingernail's resting against the back, and I want it to look like I'm slipping it in between these 2, right? So I take a second. You don't want to rush it, as if it takes me a couple of tries. But then the exposed view is after I've tried a couple of times, I just put it behind, slip it forward, and hold it in place with the tip of my finger. But you'd agree, Paul Harris is genius. It looks exactly. I also know he worked on this with Daniel Cross as well, or Cross, maybe French there. So you're here. Now, I'm going to come over, and what I'm going to do is use my fingers to hold this in place. The only thing I'm going to spin is the top card. The other 2 cards remain exactly where they are, the bottom and the middle. It's the top card that with my thumbs, this is the slow motion, I'm going to revolve it, again, just quickly pulling it down, okay? Now, if the middle card shimmies a bit, that's fine. That just adds to the visual illusion. But it's the top card that you want. Let me show you the exposed view. You basically want the top card to move like this, to get spun like that. Okay, so it's the only one that moves. However, because that's on the bottom, this is on the bottom, this is here, I was so excited when I cooked this up because it looks, boom, exactly like the one in the middle that I just saw perfectly straight. When you twist it here, it looks like it boom, in that moment, gets bent. And then you get this amazing separation here, like this. And it's just a perfect illusion. I just love this version of Paul Harris's wonderful Bizarre Twist. This is a handling that is not for new magicians. It really requires a lighter touch. You have to be able to really spend some time with the photographs, okay? Because it uses the glide. And the glide can be an easy move. It can also be a difficult move. Let me show you the glide. Well, actually, let's look at the setup first. Here's our setup, okay? Our setup of the 5 cards is as follows, okay? We have, on top, a straight bent double facer. Below that, we have just one of the bent photos, okay, with a white back. Below that, we have another of our double face photos, straight on one side, bent on the other. Then below that, we have 2 bent spoons. That is our setup. Now, to use the glide the way Frank Garcia originally did it, you need to be able to hold the edges of the photos very lightly, okay, and just with your fingers here, just a little pull back like that. You're going to pull the top one back and grab the one below. Now the problem with this is if you don't have a very light touch, when you try to pull back very lightly, you might get 2 of the photos and that'll ruin everything, okay? So this is the glide again. You're curling the fingers, you're sliding back, and this is awkward to show back a little bit, okay? Really you want to slide it, I mean, you could slide it back, let me show you an exaggeration. You could slide it back that far, okay? About a quarter of the card. The first finger, and you'll find that if everything remains, if you make sure the thumb and finger, that's what's helping you glide. The fingers pull down like that, okay? Practice that. Watch this angle. This is the glide. So it's not that the finger and the thumb and the packet remain in the same spot. They do, okay? The only thing that shifts is these fingers very lightly. With the pads of these fingers, you're going to slide nice and close here. You're going to pull it back. Okay? And that gives you access to the second card. So you get to show a straight spoon, turn the hand over, come over here, and you're going to pull this one out. But here's, okay, so that's not hard. What you have to make sure, though, is you want to make sure that your grip on the edges is clean enough that you can take out the photo without flashing the slight blue of the double side. Okay, but once you do that on the first one, okay, then you turn, you show the second one. Now that you're down to a 3-card packet, it is a lot easier to repeat the glide. You're going to show it straight, turn, pull this from below, and you'll find as soon you show it, you're turning, you're here, and as soon as you grab this, this is your situation. There's much less chance now because these 2 cards, the top card and the one you're taking from below, both have a blank back. So you have very little chance of flashing the color on the back of that one. So it's really, once you get the glide down, it's really only the first card that can be a bit challenging. There, like that, and then you're like this, okay? So you did 1 glide, 2 glides, and you were able to show 4, really cleanly, 4 straight spoons, and now you have the bend, all right? Now I go into this, where I give a wiggle here, and now I have 2 of these, right? Do the same thing here. You come over here. You give this a wiggle like this, or what I like to sometimes do, I have done. But again, I got to say, I usually do more and more the 3-card version. But if you're going to do the 5, you could put this in between these 2, right? Give a little bend, and have this kind of a nice little bit. There's a bend there, and these are here like this. And then to finish, I do the same handling, much the same as I taught you in the 3-card handling, which is I sort of show these front and back, but with this, rather than getting a pinky below the top card for a double lift, we're actually going to do a quadruple lift, but it's just a block, okay? It's so easy. These are photographs. They're super easy to handle because I'm here, okay? And I say, well, I did these 3 in my hand, square, pick up these 2. You know, what about in your hands? Hold up both your hands. And I got these. I put these on top here. Say, hold up both your hands. Come back here and turn over the entire boom like that, okay? And what that does is it leaves me switching in these 2. They can go on the spectator's hands or on the table, okay? I can casually show. Again, you can show these very fairly like this. If you want to say, okay, it's up to you this time, whatever. These, put them in my pocket, put them back in the vinyl wall, get rid of them, slip them in here, whatever, and have all focus here. Don't think when you do, people talk about misdirection, but it's actually not the best word. Brilliant magicians are great, not so much at misdirection, but at direction. not misdirection. By that I mean, if all you're thinking of is, oh, I got to get these in my pocket now, got to get them away. No, no. What I'm doing is I'm clearing things up and focusing on this. This, so if this is my motivation and this is an actor, if this is my focus, the audience won't think he's trying to get rid of stuff. They're thinking he's clarifying. He's making it more impossible, ultimately. That's what you always want to be doing. They've got them on their hands, you do the double, I want you to imagine them bending, and they turn them over, and they are bent like that. So that's the 5-card version. However, like I said, it uses the glide, which, and if you're not an advanced magician, you might find it something that you don't feel totally comfortable with, even after a bit of practice. So now, I want to show you a couple different ways you can do the 5-card version, but not use the glide. Let's pretend you've already gone into the introduction about the idea of people can bend spoons, nobody can actually do it. I actually can, and in fact, I brought evidence. You're at that point. And in fact, I brought some photographs. In this case, I brought 5 photographs, and this is my proof, okay? See, I was concentrating, and on the first photo, I couldn't get anything going. On the second one, again, nothing going. But look, you'll see on this third photograph, I started to get just the slightest bend here, and on the fourth photograph, a little bit more of a bend, and then finally here it happened. So what did I just do? I got the cards where I need them to be without the glide, and in the most direct way, in a very convincing, flowing way. So no glide, no double lifts as you head in, just putting them down in a very convincing fashion. Let me break it down exactly what happened here, okay? So you saw me do the count, and I taught this earlier, the fingertip switch count, okay? And the setup here is this. I've got my 3 bent photos, like this, okay? I've got my 3 bent photos, okay? Then I've got my 2 double face ones. I've got them spoon side up. And as always, you want to make sure the bowls are all at the same end, okay? So I'm here like this. So I start, and you don't have to do this, showing the backs, especially if it's something you're not comfortable doing. You need to be able to do this stuff casually, or you'll only spark suspicion, right? But if I'm here, and I'm casually talking about photographs, okay? It's a very natural, very casual way, okay? And this is this counting we talked about before, okay? So I'm dragging off one of the 5 photos, then another one. As I come over here, I either put that there and grab and remove, or I could change fingers from middle finger to the 4th finger, right? Taking these 2 and this. The key to this is don't think you have to rush it, okay? This is important. It's the pacing. When you do things quickly, even if you did it totally, even if you didn't do anything tricky, no illusion, and just went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, people would be suspicious. Whereas if you make sure you're pacing while talking to people, I brought some photographs along. Actually, I brought 5 photographs. If you do it at a steady pace, you're good. Now, I'm going to use the frustration count in a very bold way, okay? With the first photo, nothing happened, okay? With the second photo, nothing happened, okay? But the third photo, look here, that started to happen, and the fourth, so I'm actually very boldly showing you the bottom card, then thumbing off the top and putting it down where it needs to be, right? And then doing it here again, a second one, and thumbing it off where it needs to be. Very casual. But as soon as I've done those 2, I then kind of show this one, like this, and things start to look a lot more. So it really is a blur, or bleeds over that the way you did it was really fair, and you see all sides of all cards. This is a way to get, if you do want to do the more song and dance, where this is great, I think, is a Zoom show, okay? There, all I'd say is you want to use a better contrast color on the tablecloth from the blue to the blue, okay? You want to use a better, maybe a dark wood or something like that. But anyway, what I've been able to do there is without the glide, forget the glide, been able to show you very fairly front and back of all the cards is the illusion. You've seen all the cards or the photos, put them down, and now I'm exactly where I want to be, right? I'm in the same position where I can change that one there like that. I can change this one there like that and go on from there. So that's one substitute handling that I think has a lot of virtues over the original Frank Garcia sort of using the glide technique. As much as I know a whole bunch of you are going to really like the virtues of the last handling I showed you, I think a bunch of you are going to like this even more because I think visually it's even more convincing. And again, it's very straightforward, very easy to do. All right. So the setup is the original handling for the first 5-card version I showed you. Again, very much the Frank Garcia handling, which is you have here a straight spoon, then a bent spoon, and it's a double facer, right? Then a bent spoon, Then you have a straight spoon, which is another double-faced photograph, and then the last two are bent. So this is a version of the 5-card version, okay? Square these up. And I really wanted to make this as simple as possible for me, because if I'm running around in a situation, I'm doing bar, I'm doing walk around, work, whatever, I start to sweat. And when I start to sweat, my fingers are sometimes a bit slippery, or sometimes they get dry, and all these kinds of things happen, right? You're shaking hands and all that kind of thing. So I wanted to make another bulletproof handling and share it with you guys, okay? Because, I mean, magic ideas are great, but tricks you can actually go out into the real world and perform, that's a whole other kettle of fish, right? And I kind of pride myself on always making sure things keep real world over at Sankey Magic. So look, take these top 2 photographs and put the rubber band around it, okay? Like this. Now, twist the rubber band and put it around the whole packet, all right? So what that does, in kind of a really cool way, it keeps it all contained, show it on all sides, sit in your pocket with your sponge balls or whatever, and you're ready to go. But it means that the rubber band is already helping you get that first important double lift, right? Because we're going to go back to the necktie second deal, which is so clean. You really have all the control of all the edges of the cards, and it's visually very strong. So here, I'm here like this, and to start, I do presentation, whatever, take this out of my pocket here. I come over and immediately, without even trying, boom, my thumb's at the back. I immediately get my 2 photographs break, my pinky's in there. It takes a second, I'm there. Off it comes. Okay, off comes the rubber band. Now, I start by showing this and very fairly putting it down. That's that necktie second deal we talked about, because my fingers are going in, and I'm going to pull from behind the photo, the one below. It's coming from behind, right? Or from below it. But it looks, and again, you got perfect control of the left hand fingers and thumb, over and down. Right, I want to make sure it stays on camera here. Turning, showing this one. Straight down. Simple. Simple thumb off, okay? Now, I'm going to grab the packet from the top in the middle grip, fingers at the front, thumb at the back, and just for a second, use my fingers at the bottom just to drag the bottom photo just a little bit. You'll find that unlike the glide, which can be a little fidgety, here with a nice clean grip here, this always, boom, it always just brings the one photo slightly to your left, then you re-grip, getting the pinky there, and now you're here, and you can go right into the second necktie, okay? Then put this down there like that, okay? Let me set this up. I'll do it in performance force, performance speed. You know, magicians use their words. What do we got here? Boom. We use our words to frame what people see, but it's the visual, the simple visual actions that I think are most important. So we've got a double facer, a bent, double facer, and 2 bent. Okay, we're here like this. These 2 are here. We've done a rubber band around this. I might use slightly smaller rubber band, or like this. Okay, so watch just visually. Okay, nothing suspicious. Off it comes. First photograph obviously has a straight spoon. Second photograph obviously has a straight spoon. I come over here. Third photograph, obviously a straight spoon. Fourth photograph, obviously a straight spoon. And again, I'm showing front and back of all the cards as I go, and I'm all set up for the 5 card. So there you have it. Another way to get into the exact situation you want, whether you're putting the photos on people's hands, or on a bar table, or performing on Zoom or whatever. As I've mentioned several times on this tutorial, because photographs are not generally thought of as gimmicked, people are not suspicious of the photographs. Add to that the fact that during your performance you show front and back of all the photos. You even have them hold on to photos and they change in their hands. All of that equals there's no need to hand out these photographs to be examined. There's no need. But I've been in situations, certainly when I was a younger magician, where I felt like I really had to hand them out, and I wanted to, and especially if you're showing this trick to friends who've seen a bunch of your tricks and bust you on stuff and that kind of thing. It's always nice to know how to end clean if you want to. So 2 quick ideas here so you can hand these photographs out at the end. I deliberately structured this so that you've shown front and back. Let's just talk about the 5 card version. The same applies to the 3 card, but the 5 card version is structured very deliberately so that all the focus at the end, after you've just impossibly changed 3 of them, okay, and you've apparently shown them front and back, they go into your pocket. You're good. And all focus is on these last 2 on the spectator's hands, 2 last impossible changes, and they can look at the photos if they want, okay? So that's everything you need, but I structured it so that all the focus is off these 3. So what I can do is either just before you have these change in their hand or just after they change in their hand. You can use the vinyl, right? Because I can have two, you'll find you get 2 bonus. I can have 2 bent photos just sitting right there, right? And here's the only thing you have to remember. It's not sleight of hand. It's just about a timing thing. Is after you've shown, okay, after you show all 3 of the photographs, okay? Because what you're going to do is you're going to slip these. You're going to come up and slip these in here, okay? And there's, depending on whether you want to do it face up or whatever. But if you do it this way, all right? If you do it this way, it's really the best way to do it, I think, is to end with the one with the white back on top, okay? You've done this impossible thing. Boom, you've left those 2 on a glass or on someone's hands, whatever. You just go to your pocket, you take out the wallet, okay? And the idea is if you're just going to take these and tuck these away in the wallet, okay? And then you pause a beat, and then you drop them on the table, okay? So you can start to put them away, or you start to put them away, then close it over and leave it down the table, all right? And all I've done, of course, is been able to switch out the last 2 for this one, and everything can be examined. And so technically, it's whatever's going to make it come more comfortable for you. But I've got these 2 in here, right? And what I want to do is make sure that my top one is the one that I don't mind in the end. So here's the exposed view. I'm behind here. I'm going to slip these all in here for just a second. And really, I'm pushing these bottom 2 cleanly all the way in, leaving that one out slightly, so I can easily grab these 3 and pull them back out. So the motivation would be, we did these 3, boom, boom. Last are going to happen in your own hand, okay? Watch this, and you put these, start to put them away, and boom. Or, even more, of course, is that you put them away apparently, okay? Let's go back to our ones, as they say in theater. These 2 are here, okay? They're there. You're here like this. Okay, you've just changed the 3. This comes out of your pocket like this. I slip these, all 3 of these are going to go in and leave this slightly out jogged like that, right? Out jog. I can put this down on the table, whatever, change these 2. And then on the offbeat, I can come up and grab these through and drop that there and put this in my pocket, and they can examine absolutely everything. Okay, so that's using the wallet. Alternatively, forget the wallet. You could even just do it in your pocket, right? You can have these, your 2 switch-ins in your pants, your left pants or jacket outside pocket, right? So you've got the 2 you're going to switch in. Let me make sure we're all set here. We got these 2 all set in my pocket here like this. I have these 2 bends in the spectator's hand, ready to go, and I've got my setup here. That's just, again, if 3-card version, 5-card version, whatever, and I'm here. I've got this on top. Now, I'm here. All I have to remember to do is keep, in this case, I can casually show these, and the clean one's going to be on the bottom. And all I'm going to do, okay, is I'm going to go into my jacket, and my right hand could be getting the vinyl wallet. Both hands go in the pockets. Well, both hands go in the pockets. I know I'm going into my pocket, so this is in my pocket. I go down like this, okay? Then I just grab these, the 2 extras, leave that come out, and I'm coming out like this, and then I can switch and put them in and drop everything on the table, and now literally everything that's on the table can be examined, okay? So there's 2 ways to do switches. Again, as I've said, I don't think you need to do it, but if at a certain time and a certain place, you do want to be at end absolutely clean where they can examine all the photographs, both those versions will work fine. Here's a wacky idea I've only ever done on the offbeat, okay? After I've done this trick, people get to see me pull a real spoon out of one of the photos. And that always plays very well. Now this is on the offbeat, okay? I've never done this where I do the trick and then I immediately go right into this. I'm more gathering up the stuff, putting stuff in my pockets. They're responding to the previous trick and then I get into it, okay? Now, how do you do this? Lots of different ways you can do this on the offbeat. But one way is if you're wearing a jacket, and this is something I've used this technique a million times and maybe you're familiar with it. If you're wearing a jacket, okay? As long as your hands are up here, you can have stuff hidden in your sleeve. And the best way to get this spoon into your sleeve is to go into your, putting away the cards and things, putting something, and this is in your inside breast pocket of your jacket. You take it, no one can see. You slip it out and you put it right down the sleeve. And it'll fall down to this point in your sleeve, okay? So it's just sitting there while you're putting things away. As long as you don't drop your left hand to your side, it'll stay there, all right? But when I'm ready, I'm putting stuff away, whatever. Maybe what I've done is on the offbeat, of course, putting this down here. I bring this one up. and I don't say anything or say, if you think that was crazy, watch this. And as you think that was, say, if you think that was crazy, watch this. And they see your right hand's empty, your left hand's empty. You kind of focus over to here where the left hand drops. The sleeve, the spoon falls right in your sleeve, and now it's any kind of whatever awkward or sort of moment you're going to do. You bring it up here like this, and you're pulling it out like that. I also worked out this cool way to make the spoon, boom, come out of the photo. Really pleased with that. I've only done that a handful of times, and again, it was sort of on the offbeat. I was doing a stand-up show. I'd finished the show for like 15 people in a bar, in a back room at a bar, and then sort of went into my case, then came back up and said, watch carefully, boom. And now, down in my case, I was able to get the setup. Now, this looks great, but obviously it's a bit finicky on angles, okay? And what's really cool about this is you don't need the sleeves, all right? So, in the case, I reach into the case, I'm putting away my stuff, getting something next, and what I do is I grab one of the photos where the spoon's not there, right? And I turn the spoon, this is a small spoon, it's not a big spoon, turn it over, okay? I have it, have this here, and then this I hold in the fingers, and all I have to do, which is nice, is slide this underneath there and I'm in, okay? So now it looks to all the world like I'm just holding it, but I've actually got this. And if you hold this at an extreme angle towards the audience, then they can see your empty hands, empty palms, but it's below. Now I'm going to just move the right hand. Watch what happens here. The right hand is going to move, pivot, the left hand, sorry, is going to back up while the right hand's moving forward, almost like a steering wheel, and pivoting it. You pivot it from beneath the fingers and the hand to boom, full, and then at the same time you do a downward gesture like that, and people get to see the spoon actually fall out of the photo. Real clean, no Velcro, no sticky tape. And again, if your sleeves are down or up, it doesn't matter. It's still very, very magical. We can practice on really advanced sleight of hand and try to come up with high concept visual magic. And sometimes it's the really, really simple stuff that hits people the hardest. So here's two quick little magic moments using any old spoon and any old rubber band. I've done this a bazillion times in a trillion different situations on sort of casual moments. In lots of different situations. And it often gets a nice response. So the first phase is more of a warm-up. They get to see you hold the rubber band in one hand, the spoon in the other. They see you feed the rubber band on the spoon, and then it melts, boom, right through the spoon. You say, well, maybe that, I thought that was some sort of sleight of hand, so let's do it really slowly. And then they see you. They can even put it on themselves. You clearly put the rubber band on the spoon, and to make sure it can't move, you twist it a couple of times, okay? And even wrap it around the stem. I mean, that's super convincing. Have two people hold on to the end. This is great in a bar for a couple, or you could even do it in a stand-up show, frankly, because it's really visual. They're holding the ends, the rubber band's there, you give it a little rub, and even though they're holding the ends, the rubber band seems to wait for it. Boom, 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 melt right through the stem of the spoon. So, two really clean, magical versions of this. So, the first version, rubber band's here. You want to make it look like you go into the middle of the rubber band and pull up how it would normally look, and then it melts through. But what in fact you do, and I've never shared this anywhere, is you turn it down and you're actually going to push against it, okay? You're not going up and through. You're pushing against it, and with the thumb and first finger of your left fingers, you're going to pinch a little bit. So you're pressing down, okay? Pressing down. You're going to pinch with the first finger and thumb of the left hand, the rubber band here, and pull up. But you want to make sure that you don't want them to see. So you're here like this. Looks so legit, and I'm covering the double up underneath the tips of the middle finger is really where, and then you get the melt, okay? So you want it to look, with practice, you want it to look like you're doing this. But what in fact you're doing is pressing down. You're not pulling it up. You're pressing down, then coming, you're pressing down, then coming up, okay, like that. And you can really milk this. And if you want to cover your angles a bit more, you can turn the spoon this way, and they get to see this. But it looks exactly like the rubber band is melting through the spoon. Really cool, particularly as a warm-up. The second phase is the convincer. Rubber band on. Follow me along here. This is pretty much self-working, but you want to get the twists right or it's going to get caught. So first finger on top here. I come in and I'm going to grab the rubber band and twist it this way. Okay, I'm not twisting it. I guess that's, this is counterclockwise. I'm twisting it clockwise. I grab. With practice, you'll get this. You twist it once, okay? Twist it twice. Now, I'm going to come up, and my first finger is holding that spot. It's important. I'm going to come up legitimately. The second time I'm going to come around, I'm actually going to slip the loop over. It's going over the end of the spoon, and that's the secret action, and then I'm continuing to wrap. So even though they saw you feed it on, twist it twice, and wrap it twice, it's actually off the rubber band. The key is to hold it in place with the finger. So performance, on like this. Again, you don't want any big twists in it, okay, or it can confuse things there, like this, okay? I'm going to twist it once, twist it twice, hold it, the first finger and thumb are kind of holding in place here as I go around, and as I come around the second time I do, and it's Di Vernon's idea of a large action covering a small, which is what I do here, and then they can hold the ends, and what I can do is while they're holding the ends, I can make the magic happen and possibly in my fist, because they've got the ends, okay? I just loosen it, wiggle a little bit, and ideally the thing, if I did it right, I did good, is now loose, comes off, and you've got, so it's a really simple, is it a closer for your show? No, it's not visual enough, it's not dramatic enough. But right time and right place, particularly at school, or hanging out with friends at home or whatever, it's a really nice little miracle. If you have just performed a bunch of card tricks for people, okay? And you put away the cards, do something else, and then to finish your show, you take out your card case, and from inside the card case, they see impossibly a spoon bigger than the card case. It makes for a very pretty production. And I've done this in a lot of situations over the years, stand-up shows and close-up shows and working at trade shows. And so all I've got is a tiny little hole in the bottom of the case. Okay, tiny little hole in the bottom of the case. And it's in the corner that's going to be nearest my fingers and thumb. I really want to make this. And I've got this turned. The bowl is facing into the case. So the bowl is facing down. The flap is there. Going to feed this in here with the bowl facing down. Bowl facing down, okay? Then you close this up like this, and it's there like that, okay? I guess it doesn't really matter which way the bowl is facing. But where this is nice to do, again, in a stand-up show, it's lovely. Before I head into something with a spoon bend trick or my ring-on spoon stirring silver, is I'll do a bunch of card tricks, finish, and then take the cards, put them in the case, right? And then I'll go down here and grab a lighter, grab something else, and say, hey, we'll try something else here. And I'll switch this case. I've got this set up in my case like this, okay? So I go into the case, I come back up, get my lighter, whatever, so we're going to need this in a second, hold on, and snap my fingers here and wave it, and they see the cards I was just using. First, for them to change into anything is very cool. But for them to change into a spoon, which is obviously too big for the case itself, is very magical, okay? So that's a really sweet, simple production of a spoon from inside a card case. Here is a very sweet little trick I've done a bunch of times over the years. And you can do it with a metal spoon, or you can do it with a plastic spoon, which is kind of cool. You know, maybe you've done some magic, or they examine it, maybe you've done something else with it, whatever. And you say, actually need a lighter or whatever, okay? And you go to your case down here, you get your lighter. We'll say this is the lighter here, like this, okay? And we're going to use this and say someone can use it to kind of warm up. Sorry, tablecloth coming off. They can use it to warm up the spoon or whatever you want. And what I like is I say, watch the bowl of the spoon. I'm going to bend it. I'm going to cause it the spoon to twist right in front of you with just my mind. And you do this. Now, they immediately assume it's a gag. They're thinking, I think the guy's lost his marbles. If we're supposed to believe that he's doing anything magical, we know he's just bending the spoon with his fingers and thumb. He's twisting is all he's doing. But then when they see that actually the plastic of the spoon is now bent and can be examined, it's hard, okay? It's a very cool detail. So this is Twister. I've done it a bunch of times. Again, you can do it with an ordinary metal spoon or the plastic spoon, but you need to do some secret prep. So this is great for at the school cafeteria, or if you have people over your house, get a cheap spoon, grab a pair of pliers, grab it here, and twist it until you've been able to twist it 180 degrees, okay? Or if you're going to use a plastic spoon, which I think is kind of cool in its way, is you've got an ordinary white spoon, heat up with a lighter, then slowly twist it, okay? Twist it so it's twisted like that, okay? Twist it once around, then put it under cold water, and it hardens. So you got this really cool magic object now, this impossible souvenir, okay? So if you've used this in one trick as a magic wand, put it in your pocket, whatever, used it, again, sponge balls, a coin trick, whatever, and then you switch it. You can switch it, on the offbeat, do something else, and just take this out of your pocket. Everyone's going to assume it's the same spoon, okay? Don't worry about that. And then you get this, as I started this tutorial with, this low expectation thing, where I'm going to make sure, if you just did this, boom, like that, it's obvious. But I want to cover this to create a possibility of mystery. So I'm here, say watch, watch, and now they know what's happening. They know nothing's actually happening. He's just rolling it with his thumb. But so expectations are low. Then when you do this and lean forward and go, look, I actually did it. Oh, they can't backtrack. It's been too long. It's impossible. It's an absolutely inexplicable mystery at that point. Again, a really nice motor magic using just a plastic white spoon. Years ago, when I first got into magic, I did a few things with a spoon, okay? Do a couple of spoon tricks. And then I'd say to people, watch carefully. I'm going to try something really weird. Not with the spoon now, but with my mind. I'm going to try. And I would pretend to bend the spoon in front of them. They'd see this nice bend. Now, this is an old technique, and you got to use a cheap spoon. It won't work with a really good quality spoon. This old technique is you're going to hold the spoon here. You're going to really grip it at the base of the pinky right here. That's the fulcrum point, really, because you'll find if it's a cheap spoon and you've got it locked against the bone of the hand there, that with the thumb, with these fingers pulling back towards your palm and your thumb pushing down, you will be able to, with some practice, bend the spoon with one hand, all right? Which is really great rather than a two-handed bend, because it means you have the other hand to misdirect people. So I would have the cheap spoon examined, okay? It's examined, say, watch, we're going to try to do something crazy. Actually going to use the power of my mind. And my hand goes up. Everybody comes up to focus here. And while my left hand just drops down a couple of inches, I'm able to bend the spoon. Then I'd come up here and say, I can't bend things. Never been able to bend things with the power of my mind. And eventually people clue into the fact that, oh my God, he bent it right in front of us. Somehow the spoon bent. And then I was practicing this and playing with it one day, and I realized, wait a second, I can have this spoon bend even if I'm not holding it. So I wanted to share this last cool thing on the tutorial, on the evidence tutorial, and I just think it's a shocker. With some practice, it's so nice, and that is that you can borrow someone's, either have a cloth napkin or handkerchief, borrow it in a restaurant or a bar or whatever, drape it over your hand, have this spoon, which I know is looking rough now, have this spoon examined, take it back, put it right on your hand, okay? And under cover of gathering up the corners, you can actually do the secret bend. So they saw it. They took a picture of the spoon lying in the handkerchief, hand this to someone to hold it in the corners, and only now do you start the trick talking about. And this would be you have someone holding that spoon from the beginning. Then you could go into evidence, the 3-card version, the 5-card version. You could go into the bizarre twist version with just the 3 spoons, and then finish by bringing attention back to the guys when holding the borrowed spoon or the spoon from the beginning, and have them open it up, and people find inside, impossibly, the spoon is bent even while the spectator was holding it in the napkin from the very beginning. So great theater brings things nicely together. There you have it. That is evidence. I think you'll agree that it's unlike any other trick you do. It's unlike a card trick. It's unlike a coin trick. You're not finding a selected card or reading someone's mind. You are impossibly causing a photograph or photographs of spoons to bend inside the photo. Okay, really hope you enjoyed it. As always, give it some practice. Maybe start with a simple version and go to the more complicated version. As I mentioned also on this tutorial, you're going to find you get great reaction, not just live, but also during your Zoom or virtual shows as well, because the photographs are just so dramatic and so surreal and so visual. Thank you so much. Have fun.